Ever get the feeling like there's this secret code kind of hiding in plain sight?
I know what you mean.
Well, there is. And today, we are cracking that code wide open. We're going deep on slang.
You know what I think is so interesting about slang?
What's that?
We use it all the time, but like we don't always realize how complex it is, like all these cultural forces shaping the word.
Totally. It's so easy to feel like out of the loop, like you just stepped off a time machine, just totally lost.
Exactly. But we've got all these articles here.
Yeah, we do.
A whole stack ready to unpack not just what slang is, but where it comes from, why it even exists.
The why is always the best part.
Right.
So whether you're already a total slang pro or you're just starting to, I don't know, notice how these words work, get ready, because I think we're going to have some serious aha moments today.
Absolutely.
Uncovering the surprising reasons behind the words we use every single day.
And, we're going to be talking about how tech is changing slang.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And is there, like, a global slang melting pot on the horizon? Who knows?
That's a good question.
It's out there.
Okay, so before we go full slangtastic here,
Right.
let's start with the basics.
Mm-hmm.
So we're talking about, those informal words, the phrases, always evolving, tied to a specific group, usually.
Exactly. And it's interesting how the meaning can change.
It can.
Even over a couple of decades. Like, think about the word lit. Totally different vibe now than it had back in the day.
Totally. But before we get into all that, where does it even come from? Like, why? Why does slang exist?
Good question.
I was reading about how young people are usually the ones kind of driving these new slang terms. Is it as simple as teenagers just trying to annoy their parents?
Well, there's definitely some truth to that,
Right.
That rebellious energy.
Yeah.
But it goes deeper than that. Young people, they've always been at the forefront of this, like creating slang. It's about carving out your identity,
Oh, interesting.
separating yourself from the generation before you.
Okay.
But it's not just age.
No.
Think about all the slang that pops up around music, like hip-hop, punk, K-pop. Every genre has its own flavor.
And that totally reminds me of something I read about how slang can be like a secret handshake, right?
Yes.
It's like the sense of belonging. You're in a group, you get it, you know the code.
Precisely. And this applies to, any group, not just music fans or whatever.
Right.
Like gamers have their own lingo.
Oh, totally.
People in certain professions, geographic locations.
Oh, yeah, places.
I mean, think about American slang versus British slang.
Oh, my gosh. Completely different.
Different worlds.
It's so cool how these little variations create these connections, right?
It's fascinating.
But I do wonder, like, what about when people use slang from a group that they're not really a part of? Can that be a problem?
That's where things can get a little tricky.
Okay.
It's really important to be mindful,
Yeah.
of the cultural context.
Right.
What's totally acceptable in one group might be, well, inappropriate, even offensive in another.
Right. It's like that whole thing, like, just because you can say something
Right.
doesn't mean you should.
Exactly. And this actually ties into another key part of where slang comes from.
Okay.
Its use in, like, challenging norms. Historically marginalized communities, they've used slang as a form of resistance, a way to express themselves when, like, conventional language just doesn't cut it.
So you're saying it's like pushing back against the mainstream.
Yeah, exactly. And
Yeah.
it can be incredibly powerful.
Yeah, that makes me think of like AAV.
Yeah,
African American Vernacular English.
absolutely.
Like, how many words and phrases are we using now every day that have roots in AAVE?
It's huge.
It's huge, yeah.
I mean, AAVE's influence on modern slang, undeniable.
Yeah.
It's a perfect example of, language variety emerging from this specific cultural experience
Right.
and then ultimately impacting everyone. Like, so many people use these phrases
Yeah.
without even realizing where they came from
It's
originally.
important to acknowledge that.
It's crucial. Yeah.
It's more than just, borrowing words. It's about recognizing the impact, the influence of a culture.
Yeah, and the creativity, too.
Totally.
Like, even just the word cool.
Oh, yeah.
It came from the jazz scene, right?
Yep. Popularized by African-American musicians. Global phenomenon.
That's wild. See, it's not just about sounding cool. It really reflects these communities, The creativity, the resilience. It shapes how we understand each other.
100%. And it reminds us that language, it never sits still.
It's true. It's always changing.
It's alive. And slang is like the proof. It's like this reflection of our values, our experiences, even our worries, all wrapped up in these words.
It's true.
And those words, they can change meaning really fast, too. What's slang today might be, well, dictionary official tomorrow.
And that is the
Wow.
perfect segue. Oh, yeah.
To our next point, because we talked about where it comes from, but how does slang actually work?
Yeah.
Like, what does it do in our conversations? It's got to be about more than just belonging, right?
Oh, it definitely goes beyond just, you know, fitting in with a certain group.
Right.
It adds like this whole other dimension to language. Humor, personality,
Okay.
emotional depth that you don't always get with, formal language.
Like adding spices to our vocabulary, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like instead of just plain boring old words, you've got this whole spice rack of expression.
I like that.
Makes it more interesting, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so think about Cockney rhyming slang.
Okay, let's do it.
Instead of just saying stairs, they say apples and pears.
Apples and pears.
It's unexpected, it's clever, it makes you think twice.
Right. It's like, you got to be in the know.
Exactly. Or how about those internet abbreviations we use constantly? LOL, BRB, OMG.
Don't even get me started. I use those all the time.
Right. They started online, but now they're everywhere.
Everywhere.
And they're so efficient, emotionally charged.
Not really.
Sometimes you just can't beat a good OMG.
Okay, you're so right. Like, when you see a hilarious meme online,
Right?
are you going to say, that is very amusing?
Yeah.
No.
No way. OMG, I'm dying.
Exactly.
So much more real.
Yes.
stuff.
Okay, but there's got to be a catch. Because if slang is all about being cool,
Uh-huh.
that coolness doesn't seem to last forever.
That is the paradox, isn't it?
Yeah, like nobody's out there saying groovy anymore
Yeah.
or radical. Remember that one?
Ouch.
Yeah, makes you cringe a little. But seriously, why is that?
Okay, well, the thing about slang is its staying power, it's kind of tied to, how temporary it is.
Interesting.
What's super trendy today could be totally embarrassing tomorrow. Like it's got an expiration date.
And I feel like technology has probably sped that up.
100%. The internet is like slang on steroids.
How so?
A new term can go global, literally overnight.
Wow, you're right. That must be a lot to keep track of.
You have no idea.
But it is kind of amazing, right?
Yeah.
Like we're watching language evolve in real time.
It's true. And it's not random either.
What do you mean?
Slang, it reflects us, like our values, our anxieties, everything. Take, for example, how much internet slang there is now
Oh.
about mental health,
Yeah.
anxiety spiral, doom scrolling. We didn't have those terms a few years ago. They reflect the specific anxieties of the digital age.
That is pretty mind-blowing when you think about it.
Yeah.
So much of what we're feeling, it's all wrapped up in these words. But that actually makes me wonder, what does this all mean for the average person listening to this right now?
It means you're part of this linguistic experiment, whether you realize it or not.
We're all scientists.
Sort of, but really though, the slang you use, even the slang you don't use, it says something about you,
Totally.
like how you connect with people, how you see the world, all of that.
It's like, even if you're not the one coming up with these words, you're still, like, voting with your vocabulary.
100%.
Okay, I like that.
So I'm curious, like, what slang do you find yourself using the most?
Ooh, good question.
Does it, like, match up with your interests, the groups you're a part of?
That is a good question for everyone listening.
Yeah.
What about you? What slang are you vibing with lately?
Yeah.
But also, since we know slang changes so fast, what do you think has that staying power? Like, what's going to stick around?
Oh, man, the million-dollar question.
Right.
Well, we already talked about cool, classic.
Timeless.
Right. It's been around forever.
Exactly.
But there are others. Like, have you ever thought about the word mob?
Mob. Like mob, boss, mob.
Yep. That actually started as slang, short for mobile vulgus.
Get it out of here.
It's true. And now look at it. Totally normal word.
So weird. What else? Give me another one.
Fan. Like a sports fan.
Oh, family.
Short and slang. Originally fanatic.
No way. Okay, I need to sit down for this.
Yeah.
We are surrounded by former slang.
We are. Even the word phone comes from shortening telephone. Slang is sneaky like that.
It really is.
Yeah.
But it makes you wonder, like, what's the secret ingredient? What makes some words, go the distance while others just fade away?
If only we had the answer to that, would be like linguistic fortune tellers.
Right? We'd have our own slang dictionaries to hand out. But hey, that actually gives me an idea. While we might not have all the answers, we do have a lot of amazing questions to ponder. And here's a big one for you to think about as we wrap things up here today. In a world that's becoming so much more interconnected every single day, are we all going to end up using the same slang?
Ooh, that is a good one.
Right. What happens to those unique voices, those linguistic flavors, when a phrase can go viral globally, overnight. It's kind of a delicious dilemma, I think.
It really is. Will we have this global slang melting pot, or will different cultures kind of hold on to those special linguistic spices?
It's a question worth chewing on. So until next time, keep those ears peeled for those words, those phrases that make you stop and think twice. You never know, you might just stumble upon the next big slang sensation.